Hey everybody, welcome back. It's good to have you here. Our guest today is Traver Boehm. Welcome, Traver.
Thank you for having me, brother.
I usually do a tee up at the beginning of podcasts that I don't feel like doing right now just because I'm enjoying our hangout and jam, and I feel like we're already getting into a good flow. So I just want to dive right in and trust that
Sure.
people can click on your website or look up your
Yeah.
name. You're all over the internet. I mean, I would definitely put you in the category of famous people.
Thank you. I don't quite put myself there, but thank you.
Where do you draw the line? Where would you draw the line at famous?
I think I've been recognized like 8 times in my life.
Okay.
And that's where I'd probably, if that increases, I would say so. But no,
Walking through the street recognized.
yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And one of the beauties for us is my very first job out of college, or second job out of college. I had the first one, which was just like the fuck off job. And then I was a bodyguard for about 6 years. And so I got to see exactly what happens when people get recognized 1,000 times more in a day than they want to. So I have a little bit of a different barometer around what famous is.
What comes up for me when you say that is in in my life, and I know with people who are called to contribute and to speak and stand for something in the world, speaking for myself and also other people I know, there can be a fear that comes up of like, I'm going to walk through the world. People are going to recognize me. I'm going to lose the freedom of being able to be a
Mm.
nobody and these kind of things. Have you had any relationship with this fear of publicity or fear of being seen in a public eye? Has this happened for you in any way?
I wrestled with it. I mean, it's never become an issue that I have to deal with in the moment. Like, I haven't gotten to that place yet. But I do remember early on thinking about resistances, let's call them, to putting books out, to starting a podcast, to speaking publicly. And it was, I had billionaire clients in my 20s who I remember my company, like explaining to me who this person was. And I was like, I still don't know who this person is, even though you've given me his CV and I know he's worth more money than God. And yet we could be out anywhere in the world and no one would know who the guy is, right? Nobody. And then actually then working with celebrities who were worth 1,000th or whatever, a 10,000th of that dollar amount, but they literally couldn't leave their house without being hounded by paparazzi and photographers and stalkers, and their lives were miserable. And I do remember having to contend with what would happen if I got to that level. Now, I'm not at that level, so I don't contend with it as much. But back then, it was a thought early on of like, is this something that's stopping me from self-promoting, of saying the yes to the big thing? Why am I anxious the night before the book comes out? Stuff like that. So it's in my system because I've literally stood next to people in their homes, armed, and said, cool, if the guy who read your book and is now stalking you tries to break in and kill you, we will protect you. That is my job. Uh, but I also realize like it's a very different time now, right? Like social media gives people access to everybody, and the way social media is now constructed, it's less about who's following you and just who heard the message. So, as opposed to someone like buying into me and my stuff and all of my ideas, I'm just the guy that flies across their screen once, as they're taking a shit scrolling. So I have less concern with it now.
Yeah, it gets me curious what it would be like if Jesus was alive right now. I wonder if he would be pulling out a cell phone and live streaming and these kind of things. But
Yeah,
interesting thought. I know our intention for today is to just go super fucking deep together.
sure.
I just want to name that into our space here and invite all our listeners, for all y'all hanging out with us and listening. We want to invite you to drop super deep and listen to us and be with us here in the deeper depths. This is often where we find what's most essential and what we really care
Mm-hmm.
about and
Mm-hmm.
give a shit about. So I just want to invite us to deepen together. What do you give a shit about right now, Traver?
I give a shit about men. I give a shit about the country. I give a shit about the state of people's souls. I give a shit about what technology is doing to mental and emotional health. I give a shit about the state of relationship. I give a shit about the state of sexuality. I give a shit about the amount of suffering that feels like it's so commonplace that it has become absorbed as part of the society and we don't even see it anymore. I give a shit about corruption. Um, Mostly it comes down to human suffering. I care immensely about that and have devoted my life to, in odd angles or odd directions, doing what I can to lessen that.
I experience you as an invitation right now, and I wonder what you're inviting for us.
What am I inviting for your audience?
What are you inviting for people, for men, for humanity? I experience you as an invitation. It's like you're being an invitation in the moment. So I'm wondering what's being invited.
My invitation to people is to question what they believe to be true. Right? I called it uncivilized for a reason. That was the name of the movement. Because when I looked at the male conundrum, it felt like there was a lot of negative output or negative consequences to stories that we had all agreed to, that we didn't need to agree to, that weren't necessarily true. Right? I've oftentimes joke for us that a big part of my job, when especially when it comes to talking about men, working with men, etc., is explaining to the culture that men are human, that we have emotions, that we have trauma, we have hurts, we have desires, we have needs, we have wants, we have humanity. And that invitation then is for everybody to also, and I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, to feel into their own depth. Right? We live very, very surface level lives, like we're like stones skipping across the water that have been thrown aggressively. And it's from one subject to the next subject to the next subject to the next subject. And very rarely do we have an opportunity, even if the opportunity is there, to just stop and take a breath and feel. Start asking ourselves deeper questions. Is this what I want to be doing? Is this who I want to be with? Is this where I want to live? Are there things I need to forgive? Are there things I need to let go of? Are there people I need to reconnect with? Like the prime materia of the human experience feels like it's slowly getting pushed to the side. And maybe I'm just aging myself. Of community used to be a big deal. Connection, in-person connection used to be a big deal. Quiet time. And I don't want people to sit here and think I'm a monk, but fitness, health, knowing where the food we came from, connection, right? If we can, most of it will just come down to connection. My invitation is for people to fall back in love with connection. First, with their own depth. That is the most, like the greatest drug I've ever known on the planet, is connection to my own depth. And you get there and you become, I have a line, be dangerous, but not a danger. You become dangerous to society because you really don't want a whole lot of shit, right? Other than primary satisfaction of a beautiful conversation with a friend, a nutritious dinner with a couple other friends, a walk in the woods, swimming in the ocean, surfing, laughing with your kids. I think we've gotten very far away from the primary things that make us, that allow us to connect to the depths of our own souls. And we're watching that play out now on the world stage in wars and the Epstein list and the things that we talked about and the distortions and dysfunctions of not just men, but I have a lens that looks heavily at men, so a lot of men, but women as well.
Yeah, it seems like humanity is developmentally like a 17-year-old teenager who's trying to transition into adulthood right now and has had a pretty difficult childhood. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of years of human history of war and genocide and rape, and now we're, have the Epstein list, child sex trafficking, terrorism. I mean, there's all these things. So it's like, how does humanity heal? How does
Mm.
humanity navigate the initiatory threshold into adulthood? How do we forgive ourselves for our history? Uh,
Hmm.
these are questions that happen for me as I'm listening to you.
Yeah, we grow up. You named it. How old are we developmentally is a question that most people don't sit with. And one of the questions I ask every guy that works with me is how old are you in every area of your life? How old are you in your finances? Is there a 14-year-old that's running around? How old are you relationally? How old are you in your health? Are you eating Pop Tarts and Twinkies? I remember wanting to do that when I was 8. I'm a grown ass man. I don't want to eat that stuff. How old are you sexually? Oh, you're spending your weekend with your pants at your ankles jerking off in front of your computer? Amazing. I remember being 14 as well. How old are you societally, contributorily, in your community, spiritually, right? There's a maturing that is so needed for us, and I feel like the challenge is the immaturing factors are getting faster and faster and faster and are now handheld, right? I can leave this call and immediately go on TikTok and spend the next 6 hours getting spoon fed video clips that will not mature me, will keep me completely stuck, right? I can watch divisiveness. I can watch the men and women argue, the sexes argue, the races argue. I can watch little kids get blown up. I can watch things that are uh, titillating. I can watch everything, and it's right there on my phone. And yet, I start my day every single morning with a very thick blindfold and my ass on a meditation cushion because I actually think that's what's real.
Mm.
But the pull is right there as soon as I open my phone, just like every other human. It's right there. I think that's one of the challenges that we're under.
I start my day the exact same way with a blindfold on, meditation pillow, first thing.
Beautiful.
Well, let's follow that flow. I know you've done a 28-day darkness retreat. You've done a 49-day darkness retreat. I have done 3 days in the dark. So
Mm.
I could speak to this a little bit, but yeah, please let me just take a breath and connect here. Let's see. What is it that drew you into the dark?
I'll tell you the catalyzing agent, but first I want to say it was the dark. So I was at my very first men's retreat, small group. It was maybe 6 or 8 of us. Man running it was a teacher named Robert Masters, who wrote the book To Be a Man, um, I think emotional intelligence or emotional intimacy. He's written a number of books. He recently passed in the past couple weeks. And I was on a year-long self created project called the Year to Live Project. And I had created that when my life had fallen apart a couple months earlier. I found out I was getting divorced. My business partnership fell apart. My ex-wife, prior to telling me we were divorced, was pregnant, but we lost the pregnancy. So a number of factors kind of crashed on me at the same time. And I created this year-long space to, one, just to have something to do, and two, to follow a thread that I felt like was pulling on me heavily. And so this is maybe early January, so very start of the project. I was at this workshop again, first time doing a men's experience. So very, very um, fundamental to who I am now. But at the time, no idea what I was doing. And I was sitting at lunch for us telling another dude, like, hey, and I'm on this project. I'm named at this. Like, I got a couple like month-long things coming up. I'm volunteering in hospice. I'm really trying to answer the question, what would I do if it was my last year alive? Like, what would I really honestly do? Not like a flippant answer if I sat with it and sat with it. And I'm gonna write about it the entire time and publish it as a blog that people can follow along. And there was a man sitting next to us, excuse me, who was in his 60s and had terminal cirrhosis of the liver. He was given 6 months to live. And he kind of overheard what I was saying and very nonchalantly, like literally between bites of his sandwich, said, if you want to experience death without dying, you really need to do a dark retreat. And my ears perked up, but like I'd never fucking heard of this thing. I had no idea what this guy was talking about, right? Like this was not in my consciousness. I'd never heard of it. It was literally like a brand new concept came and penetrated my brain. And so I turned to him and was like, awesome, thanks. What's a dark retreat? And he explained this is a period of isolation in a pitch black room where you will not have reprieve from the darkness. And it will work on you in ways that nothing else will because it is a complete absence of stimulus, external stimulus, other than perhaps like touching walls, eating, and going to the bathroom. That's what you got. And then he went on. This was the beauty. He said he had done 180 days in some collection of days, right? So not straight. And this is what he said for us. He goes, I did 49 days and 49 days and then a couple of the short ones. Then he kind of corrected himself. He's like, well, that first one wasn't really 49 days because they had to pull me out on day 46 because I was bleeding from my eyes, my nose, and my ears, or my eyes, my nose, and my mouth. I can't remember which one. And I was like, I beg your pardon? Like, please, you tell me more. And he was this very charismatic figure. And he goes, yeah, I was in Tibet, and the Tibetans told me that I had meditated so deeply. And he gets all like storytelly, and then gets his face right up in my face and goes, that I had encountered demons. And I was like, oh, I'm from Connecticut. I've never encountered demons. Sir, did you meditate so deeply that you encountered demons? He takes another bite of his sandwich and was like, nah, I think I just had food poisoning and I was coughing and puking so hard I broke some blood vessels. But man, I was so intrigued in that moment. Like, what is this thing? What is this process? What is this idea? And at the time, this is, 2016, so 10 years ago, my life was very physical. I had been a bodyguard. I had been a professional MMA fighter. I owned a CrossFit gym. Uh, I could meditate and I could write. I could speak publicly. Now, one of those skills is applicable to spending time in the dark. The others felt, oh, everything that I'm good at will be useless. Like, no one gives a shit how much you can deadlift when you go into a pitch black room. No one gives a shit if you can defend a rear naked choke when you go in a pitch black room. Oh, you're a really good writer and orator? Beautiful. Welcome to the dark. That's irrelevant. So I really wanted to see, one, who am I underneath skills that I've honed for my entire life? Who am I internally? Are there parts of me that will come online that are completely dormant because I pick up heavy shit and choke people, and those parts just haven't had a place at the table? So that was a lot of the intrigue of like, who am I going to become if I do this process? I didn't really understand the word initiation at the time. This was new to my own journey. But now I will say the darkness comes and initiates me when it wants. And so I really had no choice back then. I was like, I'm doing this. I reached out to a couple facilities that night. The place in Guatemala got back to me. I remember saying like, "Hey, I want to do 28 days because I was doing 12 1 month projects as part of the Year to Live project." And so it just naturally felt like, well, I'll take up a month. I'll do a month. And the woman who's guided me now through both of them was like, that's a long ass time. Like, you really may want to rethink this. And I was like, nah, not a worry. I've done, some 3 day meditation retreats and I'm a pretty robust human. I think I'll be okay. Having no idea of what I was getting myself into. Like, truly zero understanding of the size and scope and scale of a month alone in a pitch black room.
Like, you got me on the edge of my seat here. I just keep going.
It is hard to describe two things. One, just how little there is to do when there's no stimulus. Like, the best way I've been able to explain it over the years is, imagine going right now, or as soon as you're done with this conversation, locking yourself in your bathroom, turning out all the lights, knowing there's going to be food, and you get to come out after you've counted to 2.5 million. There's nothing to do. And the second thing that's often really hard to describe, which you have encountered just from even doing 3 days, is that I now don't view darkness as the absence of light. I view darkness as its own entity. Like, it is literally a thing. It is an energy. It's like saying water, like being underwater is not the absence of air. You're in something, encased in something, surrounded by something, being worked on by something. And what I quickly found was there is an energy in the room that was going to take me and initiate me in a way that wasn't possible with physical elements, right? Like, I'd done marathons, I've fought professionally, like I've done these initiations, but there was nothing more powerful than my psyche just coming up and almost splitting me open. Where there were days in that first experience, literally days and days and days, where I was just lying on the floor, sobbing and screaming, right? Like, seeing the child that my ex and I had lost, like in the room with me, trying to grab that person, trying to have conversations with people who weren't there, like going absolutely quote insane, and then having no one to talk to, no one to comfort, no escape, right? I couldn't be like, okay, that was really hard. I'm going to get on Facebook for a few minutes and message my friends, see how they're doing. It's just like, this is your life. This is you. This is, you're all fucked up right now. Cool. Take a breath. You still got to take care of yourself. So there are a number of factors that come together in a dark experience, no matter how long it is. Then there are the visions, there are the dreams, there are the images and the things that would come up with immediacy, or I could just know like, shit, now I have to deal with this memory I have from being a 6 year old and something happening at 6. Like, that video clip is going to run in my mind for the next 3 days until I sit with it and work with it and release it, and then whew, it'll be gone. I'm like, oh man, cool. Eat some lunch, and then boom, there's a new one. Okay, shit, have to deal with this. At least that was my experience of it. Some people, man, they go in, they close their eyes, and they're off in the heavens. They're chilling with Jesus. They're like, playing pool with the Buddha. They're hanging with angels. I did not have that experience. Mine was very down and in, more so than cosmic, let's say up and out.
Do you, in your daily life, do you experience the dark with you in the moment?
I experience it when I meditate, and I feel what I connected to in there all throughout the day. When I make decisions, if I get, let me say this honestly, if I start to get antsy or squirrely or like, I'll be like, oh, I'm disconnected from the dark. Right. And I had a notebook in there with me both times. People are like, how do you write in the dark? Well, I just write like one line and then turn the page. I will go back and reread the single line notes that I took, and it's like woof, right back into that space. If the blindfold doesn't do it, like if I'm sitting here on this after this call, I'm like, man, why do I not feel okay in my skin? I'm like, okay, I've lost touch or I've disconnected with the dark.
Yeah, I love it. I have a couple of blindfolds that I've done quite a lot of work with, and they are psychoactive now. I mean,
Mm,
other people will put these blindfolds on, and they're like, in they just have an instantaneous DMT release the second they put the blindfold on. So I hear
deadly.
that when you talk about the journal, because it's like the journal has become psychoactive.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we work with this quite a bit. My business partner and I, for example, will go if we're meeting at night and the lights are on. It'll be like, all right, turn all the lights off. Like, let's make it as dark as possible in here because I was interviewed on a podcast a few years ago, and I had a quote that went a little viral. I said most human beings are like a browser with too many tabs open,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we're not actually available. I'm really big on this word availableness right now.
Yeah.
We're so full, we're not actually available for things to show up.
Yeah.
So there's
And you own your own business. I remember a guy in my men's group 2 years ago saying the average person who owns their own business has over 500 tabs open in their brain at any given time all day. It's
mm,
like the marketing, the ROI, where's accounting? Where do I have to pay taxes? So and so, how's our, I feel you, man. I feel you. And perhaps it's because I have 70 plus days, in the dark that blindfold just makes everything go. It's like woof, instantaneous.
and there's I don't in any way claim to have this perfected or anything, but it's also like I find myself saying, "Hey, everybody, if we can just calm the fuck down and
Mm,
and relax, if we can calm down and relax and empty, we might do less things, but they're going to be the right things, and
mhm,
they're not going to have stuff that needs to be transmuted or clear stuff that's created from clarity, stuff that's created. It has a purity to it. It's like
totally.
in Buddhism, there's that image of painting in water. It's like you're drawing your fingers
Mm,
through water. There's no residue. There's no residual. It's just
mhm.
clear, pure creation. And
I love that.
yeah, it's like the darkness is maybe the greatest refinement process I've ever experienced for supporting more clear creation without the residual.
Yeah. It's pure, man. It's a weird entity to try to explain to people, right? Because they can't get over their minds of like, but what do? You do nothing. You actually it is the, less doing, more being. You at some point you break and go like, cool, I just have to be with the room. I've done the push-ups, I've done the squats, I've done the quote meditation, I've chanted my mantras, I've walked the room. It's just like now I'm gonna lie on the floor and let the room start to work on me.
What's happening for me as you say this is that the words "let the room start to work on me" land so easily for me. And I imagine a lot of people listening are like, what do you mean when you say "let the room start to work on you"?
Mm. Anybody who's done plant medicine has an idea that at some point you lose your consciousness, ability to reason, rationality, ability to orient yourself, right? There were on in both cases, both sits that I've done, the 49 and the 28, things that I would look at and go, oh, that's a unique coincidence. If I didn't understand that it was so integral to my own process, right? In the very first one, um, for about the first week, Forrest, I was just like bopping around the room, shadow boxing, meditating, doing a lot of like, squats, and I was like, man, this is just going to be a boring fucking week or a boring month. Like I'm going to come out of here in kind of good shape and a little bit pale, and nothing really will have happened. And the on the eighth night, I had a dream that I was walking down the beach where I used to live with my ex-wife, and between us, we were each holding the hand of the child we'd lost. And I went, well, that's a cruel fucking dream for someone who has no support. And I remember waking up and just being like angry and sad, and I was starting to have an emotional process start. And then what do you know? Just outside the hut where I was staying, which was supposed to be in silence, there was a construction crew building a dwelling for the people who owned it, and they were grinding bamboo, which, if you haven't heard that sound, is a lot like fingers running down a chalkboard. Like "Wah," this high pitched grind squeal for about 3, 4 hours. And that's what broke me. That was the like, make it stop, like, make it fucking stop. And then I'd see the dream and like literally yelling, like, stop. Like remember the Jim Carrey movie? You ever seen is it, I just had this image of Dumb and Dumber, and they're in the car driving on the road trip. And he's like, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Uh-huh.
And he just goes, ah! He like yells. It was like that, but for like 4 hours. And I remember literally then falling off the cliff, losing myself, just like rage and screaming. And that's when the tears started coming. And I was like, oh, the room did that. The room orchestrated this whole thing. Like, I can't outlast this thing. Just like with plant medicine, like I can't, like, okay, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Okay, now I'm boof. I've fallen over the cliff. So we could call it the room, we can call it the darkness, we can call it our psyche. There's something that needs to be unearthed, something that needs to be let go of, something that needs to be processed. And there are forces at work that are phenomenally bigger than we are. And I think entering a dark room is where we actually go and become in relationship with the thing that's bigger than we are, as opposed to perhaps waiting in the outside world where it's like, oh, this is my third knee surgery or whatever. We're like, okay, now I have to sit down for 6 months and I'm unable to distract myself in all the ways that I could distract myself before. By entering into a dark retreat, you're partnering with that process. You're inviting that process and surrendering to that process in a way that is quite profound.
I love that you said partnering with that process because it feels like a generative partnership for me now, and it's in moments where it's like, so whatever's going on, there's some turbulence or some womp womp, some nar going on. It's like, okay, I could cut on Netflix right now, or I could go whatever, or I could turn to my friend, the
Mm-hmm.
dark, and we can work through this together and
Mm-hmm.
have a new moment, not just play, not just stay in the pattern, not just stay in the cycle. We can actually have a new moment.
Mm, love that. That's beautiful.
I'm curious, I can remember, and I make up most human beings are walking around basically in linear time. There was a past that led to this moment, and then there will be a future, and we're just navigating that. And when I listen to you, I hear a nonlinear relationship with time.
Mm.
There's so I want to let me just ask you, like, what's tell me about your relationship with time.
Right now, it's very conventional. because I have a business and I have clients and I have people in my life, right? I have a 3 o'clock appointment I need to be at and a 5 o'clock appointment. But on a deeper level, this is let me fumble through this because it's quite hard to articulate, especially when I came out this past summer of the 49 day. I was not disoriented in a way of like, I don't know how to drive a car. I don't know, none of that. Like I was a functioning human being, but very little made sense. I didn't understand human relationship. I just couldn't like, what do we do? Why would we talk to each other? I couldn't understand society. Like, why do we set things up like this? Why is this okay? Why are our food systems the way they are? And time just felt ethereal. It was like, am I waiting? And I know this may sound a little bit ludicrous. I remember thinking, like, oh, the rest of my life is just me waiting to die. And sometimes they're going to fly by. And sometimes I'll go back and blindfold myself and I'll be in a different experience of time. So there's this deep underlying disconnection from the conventional that I think that last dark retreat unplugged me from. And yet I have to live in the conventional world, right? I have bills to pay and team and payroll and books I want to sell and shit I want to do with myself. But I think it did give me a conscious experience of something that was so different that it disrupts the relationship with the conventional. And navigating the two, the be in this world but not of it, has been very hard. I'll be honest with you. Like I came out of the 49-day experience and was like, beautiful, everything's going to be easy now. I've got this whole thing figured out, right? I kind of dip my toe in enlightenment and I understand I'm a functional human. I know how to make money. I know how to do things in the real world. And the juxtaposition between 7 weeks of the deepest soul work and hanging out with God and my the rental company I'm dealing with won't call me back. Like that juxtaposition was insanity. I just like couldn't wrap my head around which world to live in. Um, or even if I had a choice between the two.
And you said it's difficult. I wonder, can you say more about that?
Once you know something's true, this is a belief I have, it's really hard to pretend that it's not true. And yet I understand that there are massive forces, right? So when I came out of the dark this summer, I literally didn't want anything. I was like, I will be content. Well, maybe a surfboard. If I can have a surfboard and shelter and food, I can spend the rest of my life anytime I want closing my eyes and finding deeper satisfaction than I've ever found in relationship and sex and all of the things that in having a car and driving a Mercedes and all of the things I was told would make my human experience satisfactory. And yet, I needed somewhere to live. And I did have bills to pay. And I did have food to buy and a system to plug into, right? I came out and like, I know we've mentioned the Epstein list, but one of the more interesting pieces, I came out and I knew I was going to share with a bunch of people, like I'm out, right? I'd done podcasts telling people where I was. I have a following. People knew what I was doing. And I remember thinking, without knowing anything, right? I was in there for 7 weeks. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make some snarky ass comment, like put a picture up of me with my eyes all squinty and all fucked up from being in there, and be like, Epstein didn't kill himself. Like that'll be my like, what did you get out of this 7 weeks? Like that's my true takeaway from that experience. And I came out and I think the DOJ that day was like, hey, by the way, today's the day we realized that like this is all a big nothing burger. You know, don't worry about it. Nothing really happened. And so it was like the first thing in the news that hit me. And I remember thinking, like, how do we live in a world? I still sometimes grapple with this, right? Where it's so in our faces what's challenged or what's distorted, and yet we're so helpless to have any effect on it. And my response, honestly, for us when I came out was like, I'm just going to blindfold myself again. I'm kind of going to retreat. I'm going to go back to where things make sense. And for people hearing like, "Oh, you can't see, that's what makes sense." That's crazy. And my thought was like, "No, no, no. What you can see in the world that you interact with is actually the crazy one. Behind the blindfold is very peaceful. It's very content. It's very satisfying. It's very aligned. I'm tapped into and connect with something that feels actually true, not the truth of what I was sold my entire life was true." Now, that dissonance is hard, right? It is hard because we do have to live in this world. I'm not a monk, right? And you're not a monk. Most people listening to this aren't like, well, my food is taken care of, my housing is taken care of, my job is just to meditate and commune with God. There are people who do that, and we call them monks or priests or whomever that there's a reason why they were secluded from society. They weren't around women, they weren't around relationship. But we're in a unique time culturally where we're given access to high voltage spiritual knowledge and still have landlords. Which I'm not sure the two were ever supposed to go together, right? You know?
Yeah, so help me out here. I mean, I will walk around and just roar sometimes. When you talk about the Epstein list and things like this, the best I've got right now is stomping around and roaring, right? It's like
Mhm.
I can go retreat and
Mm,
I could bypass it. I could go
mhm.
retreat. Um, I could pretend like it's okay. I could go on social media and write some big long rant about it. But the thing that feel like there's a quality of primalness that I feel really in contact with when I'm with you. I know that really comes online in the dark for me. A sense
Yeah,
of primalness came online intensely.
for
And so
sure.
then there's this thing of like when I look at the words uncivilized behind you, I know people are listening to this on audio. It'll, there's people who can go on YouTube and see it, but there's the word uncivilized behind you. For me, like there's this wild, feral, primal roar that comes through me when I feel the fucking pain of what you're talking about here. The Epstein list, as far as I'm aware, there's not a single person in the United States who's been arrested from the Epstein files, as far as I'm aware.
I don't remember her, I should know her name, but the woman, his like female counterpart,
Giselle Maxwell.
Giselle Maxwell, yeah, she's the only one.
Okay. Okay.
So it's even more ironic that like a woman's been arrested, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Like keeping on par, no dude has been arrested and a woman's been arrested. Yeah, not to say
I
that she's a good person, but
right.
yeah,
I know it's different in other countries that people have been arrested. In the United States, no one's been arrested. And it's like,
nothing.
where's the fucking accountability? Where's the I mean, it feels like we're so numb.
Hmm.
And I told you earlier, I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now. I was born in the US. So I say we because I
Hmm.
was born in the United States. It's like we're so numb. We're so cooked up on chemicals and social media, fake food, fake everything, and just browser with too many tabs open. It's like there's so much stimulus. There's so much over information. We're not even in relationship with what's going on.
Yeah.
So what do we do? I mean, like that's what I'm going. Help me out here, man. Like, how do I navigate this? And how do we navigate this?
Yeah. It's a big question for us. I've been asking it for years, but more recently, as things have come even more acutely online, that like, oh, this is happening. Um, I hate that this is my default answer, but it is first like adopt the Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. So like look at your own closet, look at your own shadow, look at where you have any little bit of leak. So I say to every guy, right? Where are you out of integrity? And if we're going to talk about sexual violence with either sexuality or violence, where do you go when you get triggered? Where do you go when you get drunk? Where do you go when you're fighting with your wife for the fourth month and you haven't had sex? Like where do you go? And also, who are you with? Right? I did a post. This is like my first semi-viral post was saying, I'm not surprised by the Epstein list because there's an Epstein list in everyone's neighborhood. It's called Megan's Law. There's an Epstein list in your church. It's the pastor who's been moved from place to place to place to place to place, and nobody really knows why. There's an Epstein list in your company. It's the guy that HR has quietly like let go, with a severance, but like no one knows why. It's around us. And so my answer was, first of all, clean up your own fucking house. And then secondly, who are you in community with? Like as men, it is incumbent upon us to sit down and say, cool, who in the company is being a shitbag? Who's protecting him? Are we okay with that? We're not okay with that. Okay, in the church. Okay, our pastor was caught doing this. Are we still going to be an active participant in this church? How do we actually vote with our presence and our energy and our dollars, knowing that we really can only affect things in a very small way? Right? I had people attack me like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, I can't go against the Department of Justice. They're bigger than I am. But I have a men's organization with 250, 300 men in it. So you know what I can do? I'm going to ask every single one of those guys for the rest of the year to not look at porn. And will that change the Epstein list? No. But will it make some kind of micro change where those guys aren't investing in the devaluing and the objectification and the sexualization of women, that they're not investing in a system that is involved in human trafficking and abuse? That's like if that's all I do with my time and energy, that feels like it's still a country mile greater than doing nothing. And so start like change happens from the ground up, right? I can sit here on this podcast and be like, Trump's on that list. You and I need to take Trump down. I don't give a shit who people voted for. But like I can't touch that man. I can't touch someone in, mid-level at Ford because there's systems and people and lawyers and surrounding him. But I can sit with my neighbor and go, "Hey man, how are you doing? You doing okay?" Yeah? Or catch someone saying like, and then making a joke and be like, "Hey man, that's I don't allow jokes like that around me. It's not funny."
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And for I had my assistant was creating a video today where I have this like little thing that I do push-ups and then ask a question. And the question of the video is like, should I train today? And then I ask a question and be like, the answer is obviously yes. And it's like train hard. And today's question was, men, when you hear of a boy being raped by a female teacher, do you celebrate that? Like, oh, I wish that would happen when I was in junior high. Like, clean your shit up. That's not funny. If we as collective get together and go, hey, that's not okay anymore. It's not okay with us. It's not going to be normalized in my world that people get to rape children and we're like, well, but like he was famous, so we're not going to say anything, or oh, he has a lot of money, or like he's head of the department or whatever. It really is us. First of all, I'll come back to like look at your own shadow, right? Look at your own shadow. That's a biggie. And I know people will be like, oh, I want to do something more. Cool. Start there. There's plenty of work to do there. Trust me, that's not like a 45-minute process to be like, I think I'm good. You know, it's frustrating. It is frustrating. And we as a collective, we're at the point, I think, Forrest, where it's just being named. But there's now we're realizing how many systems are in place to protect that corruption, to facilitate that suffering. But I will tell you, this is what I know about the world, and people may tell me I'm naive. Every single place there's a protection, there's a person. And if we can get to the person below them and say, hey, you, that's not okay with me, or humanize that person, or have that person raise their level of consciousness where they're like, I'm not going to be engaging in this anymore, then at some point the system will crumble. It has to, right? I watched a video yesterday of a woman, and I think it was an older video, saying, and she worked for an insurance company, and said, I'm going to be just like very much honestly, I don't know if she was being deposed or something like that, saying, I remember the very first time I denied a patient care that they needed. Like I said, no, they don't need that surgery. And they did need that surgery, and that person died. And she said, I then went on to get promoted immediately afterwards. I then went on to be celebrated and to continue to get raises every time I would deny a certain number of people, etc. Now, people may not even believe that that's a thing, but it took the courage of that woman to stand up and say publicly on video, this is what I was engaged in. And if enough people do that, I think that's how we actually have the change. That's one way,
Mm,
you know.
mm.
These are big questions.
I love how practical you're making it. I mean, asking your guys to quit watching porn. I didn't know, like I kind of knew how pervasive porn is. Like I kind of knew that, in men's groups and stuff. Like I heard guys mention
Everywhere.
porn. Um, I mean, of course I've watched porn before. It's been, I don't know, 12 or 14 years or something. It's been quite a long time. Uh, and I just thought that's something people grew out of because that's what happened for me. And
Yeah.
then recently, in the last 6 months, I've been like, holy shit. Like all these guys have been telling me they watch porn. I'm like, you watch porn?
Hmm.
Holy fuck. Like, and I just mean like
Hmm.
one after another, after another, after another. So it's super up for me right now. And I saw your Instagram post recently. It said something like porn is the McDonald's of sex.
The 3 day old soggy
Three
McNugget of
day old.
sex.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
then I don't know, yesterday or 2 days ago, I had this, I'm in Colombia right now. I had this woman hand me a business card for massages. And
Hmm.
you can get actual professional massages in Medellin, and you can also get prostitutes. And I
Sure.
went on their website to look at it, and it was just porn. It was like 10 women who were completely naked, and you could pick one. I went, oh my God, I got porn on my computer.
It is pervasive. It is pervasive. Now, here's where I'm concerned. I'm 50. I know that the people on the screen are being abused on some level. Some people are, some people aren't. I know it's not real. I know that the girl getting picked up at the bus stop by the guy in the van isn't just some rando chick that just happens to be down to fuck 3 minutes later. I know it's an actress and I know the whole thing, but I'm not 12. I'm not 14. I've had real sexual experiences with real human women. I understand the intricacies of intimacy, that there's a lot about human emotional connection. I understand that. But I really fear for the younger generation that's coming up thinking, oh, sex is just friction, or it's just porn, right? And they're missing out on the humanization of the other person. And then they're going to try to go get in relationship and be like, well, wait a minute. I was raised on this idea that's false, right? Of like, oh, wait, food is supposed to have nutrients. I thought it was just supposed to make you not hungry. Kind of the same idea. And it's missing out on, and we can go into the sacred aspects of sex, which is a whole nother conversation. But it's just like the poor everybody, the poor everybody, the young men, the young women, everybody who's involved in it. Um, I never thought I would be taking a stance on porn. Like I literally never thought in my life. And yet I see the damage that it does to relationship, to intimacy, to physicality, right? Like there's a marked point when Pornhub went from, obscure to global national, and 22-year-old guys needing Viagra went up like 70,000%. And you're like, at 22, you should be good to go, uh, all day long. And yet, not just the physiology and physicality of that, though, but like, what does that do to a young man's self esteem? What does it do to his confidence? What does it do to his desire to have a loving, caring relationship, which is a lot of the beauty of the human experience is relationship. So, yeah, I also will just say like it felt better than asking them to do nothing, you know? Yeah. Because Forrest, I didn't know what to do, man. I'll be honest with you, right? I went on a walk with a woman. This is a crazy story. Someone I had interviewed, and we talked a lot about. I don't know if you're a fan of Francis Weller. Do you know that teacher? He's an amazing, amazing teacher.
I do, but it's not bringing anything.
Yeah.
I know the name. I can't associate it with anything right now.
He speaks a lot on grief, and he has this whole idea of the predator. And the
Mm.
predator is a more of an energetic thing than like a physical aspect. But this woman and I talked about the predator for at length on our podcast, and then literally hangs up gets off Zoom, and she's here in Boulder. She goes out on a walk in her neighborhood in Boulder, has some dude following her in his car, pulls up next to her and starts jerking off. Now she's mortified, and it's kind of ironic that we literally were just talking about this, and I asked her when I saw her do a very emotional video about it after, and I reached out and was like, "Is there anything I can do to just help you here, support you here?" And she said, "Yeah, come take a walk with me around my neighborhood, just like reclaim the neighborhood with me." And on it, she was like, "What do we do?" And I said, "I don't know." Like I literally, like you and I having this same question, like, what do we do? It feels like the challenge is so big that it can only be handled personally, right? When I did a town hall the other night with a couple guys on male sexual violence, and it was just an open conversation, and a number of men leading up to it had said, you have to change law. Until you can get into legislation and change law, nothing will change. I was like, I literally don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. You might as well be talking in Russian to me. I know how to gather people. I know how to write. I know how to speak. I know how to, but I don't know I'm not an attorney. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. And so I think one of the frustrations, and this is hard for people, is they don't know what to do, right? So they do nothing.
Mhm.
And do no harm was the very first thing that felt active. Like actively make sure you're doing no harm. Go to therapy. Figure out, like, you know your shadows. Like I had a group of guys at my house 2 months ago, and we were talking about this predator, and I had them write down. I was like, what's the thing that if it was going to ruin your life or you were going to, be taken down by something, what is it? Is it heroin? Is it infidelity? Is it gambling? Is it alcohol? And no one in the group was like, I don't know. Like we all knew, like I know where my leaning is, right? Like I know the thing. Like you could tell me there's a thousand or a guaranteed horse race at 4 o'clock today. If you put $1 million down, you'll make $10 million. I'd be like, I'm not doing it. Or you could be like, this is the greatest heroin ever produced on the face of the earth. Trust me, like Jesus made it. And I'd be like, I'm not doing. I don't want the fucking heroin. Uh, I I know my shadow. I know my issue. And so then I get to then go, cool. How do I work with my men's group? How do I work with professionals? How do I work with a therapist? How do I work with a shaman? How do I work with a guide? How do I work with a plant medicine to have a relationship with that so that when I do get stressed and the tax bill comes and my toilet's clogged and I get in a fight with my girlfriend, that I don't run to that thing, which is what I think ends up happening, which is why we have the acting out and the harm that's created from it. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I mean, I hear the words coping mechanism,
Yeah.
and actually, there's the room for a lot of compassion in that. Actually, it's like, okay, the more guys who I get curious with about whatever, porn, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever, it's like, oh, this is self-soothing. And so can we develop better capacities to self-soothe? Can we
Mhm.
can we get a more robust palette of self-soothing techniques? Um,
Yeah.
so we have more options to choose from besides just porn, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to give people who are listening another option too. You mentioned such a beautiful boundary earlier of I don't allow jokes like that around me. Like that's not funny.
Hmm.
Um, I had a conversation with a man really close to me in recent months, which was like, there's concentric. I have a concentric circles map. So I
Mm.
draw. I every like once a month I'll sit down and draw where are all my people.
Mm.
A lot of my turbulence in my life is when I'm putting inner circle expectations on someone who's three concentric circles out.
I love this.
Right? It's like I thought we were a lot
Yeah.
closer than we are, but actually now that I get clear on it, this is not good.
Yeah, I love this.
But I told somebody I was like, hey, I don't want I quit drinking alcohol years ago, 5 years ago or something like that. And it's like I don't want that. There's a whole vibrational reality that comes with that. And I'm listen, this is not like I told someone recently, I was like, if we were in France in a wine cellar and someone pulled out a bottle of wine that was 100 years old, and they said, my grandfather gave me this bottle of wine, and he told me, when you're with the people who make you feel like life is the most fantastic thing in the world, share this with them. Would I drink some wine? Absolutely. Like, of course. I'm not like,
Right.
and I'm not, I just don't drink, but I'm not anti-alcohol, But I was like, I don't want that in my house. I
Hmm.
don't want the whole culture that comes with it. I don't want the sex. I don't want the drama. There's whole frequencies of reality and entire realms that come with that. And it's another, I just feel like it's just another example of one of those boundaries, which was like, for me, it's like my boundaries are for myself. I'm like, you
Hmm.
can drink alcohol. I'm
All
not
you want.
all
Yeah.
you want. You can watch porn all you want. I don't allow that in my house.
Hmm.
You can do whatever you want.
Mm.
And that's for people who are listening and going, what are some other options? It's like creating boundaries for you. Most people think about boundaries on other people. It's like
Yeah.
my boundaries are actually for me.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. It's a powerful move to set that boundary too. It's a very deep move of self-respect. It's the way I view it. Hey, I don't do this thing. I don't partake in this thing. Again, you're welcome to, but I don't want to be around it. That's my boundary. And especially when it comes to men, we're very hierarchical. And so when a man compassionately and clearly says, not like, hey, you fucking dick, I can't believe you brought booze to my house. It's like, hey, man, appreciate that you thought that was okay. It's not an issue. Just leave it outside. I just don't have alcohol in my house. That to me sounds also very curiosity inspiring. I'd have questions. Like, really, tell me why. That's a power move. And for you to look in the mirror in the end of the night and say, like, hey, that stuff doesn't even come in my house. Right. I've done this with people about how they speak to me. Like, hey, I get that. In the circles you roll in, like it's okay to speak to someone that way. People in my life don't speak to me that way. Very clear. I don't want to hear that. That's, I think, the call right now. I don't eat that stuff, right? I'm with you. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not an alcoholic. I just don't drink it. I also don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat fast food, right? I'd be like, no, I'm good. Thank you. You're welcome to eat all you want of it. I'm not going to eat that. And it's not, I'm better than you. This is just how I'm choosing to live my life, given that I know there's so many options and there's forces at work that pull me into things that aren't healthy for me. And I'm going to choose to navigate it with as much consciousness and intentionality as I possibly can. And if I'm ever in 100-year-old wine cellar, I'll probably have a sip and be
Right.
like, thank you for that. Right.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a religion for me. It's just you know.
Yeah. But I love something that you said for us. I love we could even riff on it a bit further. It's one of the reasons I asked guys to get off porn was that conversation started, and I know you're in Medellin, so this is probably even more apropos. I had a coaching client, or I have a coaching client, and he's okay with me speaking about this, who said, like, well, last weekend I went out and I bought some Coke. And I
Mhm.
went, okay, cool. And it was different reasons why we were talking about it. And I said, you know what I want you to do? I want you to dump it out right here on this call in front of me. Pour it in your toilet. And he was like, well, he was giving me some resistance. And I said, have you seen the images of people hanging off of bridges with their fucking faces cut off? A lot of them are innocent people who have gotten caught up in something that they didn't think they'd get caught up in. I said, in some very small way, you are contributing to that. You
Mm.
are buying into the system that
Wow.
ends with people doing that. You, a good dude with a good family and intentions, and you're a kind man, you're in very small way participating in that activity. And so when people ask, like, why don't you drink? One of the first things I said was, I don't want to be a party to it. I don't want to be a party to the domestic violence, to the sexual violence, to DUIs, to all of the crime that happens and violence that happens because people were drunk. I don't want to plug my life force and my soul into that system. Same with porn. So
Wow.
I don't go to strip clubs. Like, there's certain things I'm like, I don't want to plug into that.
Yeah.
And there's some things maybe we don't have a choice of, right? If I get hit by a car, I'm going to go to a hospital. I'm not going to be like, I'm not plugging myself into the Western medical system. I'll be like, no, please fix my leg. And then when I go home, I'm going to work with naturopaths and acupuncturists and a chiropractor and other people. But I do have a choice what I put on my computer screen. I do have a choice what I drink. I do have a choice what I smoke or don't, or eat or don't. And so I appreciated when you said there's a lot that goes around alcohol that I don't even want in my home. I think that's a very, very astute and very honest way of framing it. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, first of all, I should say I get walking around here in Colombia, I get offered Coke maybe 3 or 4 times a day. It's just part of the lifestyle here.
Wow.
People coming up offering to sell you drugs all the time. And it's honestly really sweet, like the people who do it are really kind, and you can just say like, no, I don't do drugs, or no thank you. But um yeah, it's sweet. Um, but anyway, what I want to get into and what you're saying is this neural network of relationships. Like I'm seeing more and more and more. Like we're getting into in more and more subtle dimensions of reality here, but I'm realizing in a few years ago I started seeing, oh, I'm in a creative collaboration with someone, or I'm exploring a romantic partnership with someone, and the vibrational hum of clarity and truth and transparency is not showing up in our connection the way I know is possible. But the source of that is not happening in our relationship.
Mm,
The issue is the connection that you have to someone and the connection they have to someone, or in my situation, this other thing I'm doing over there, we're all interconnected. And so I started, like, you so beautifully invited us to like do an audit of our life, of our relationships, of our lifestyle, of our being. How old are we in all these different dimensions? So I started looking around and being like, okay, I think that I have something going on with Traver, for example. I'll just not address that and
mm,
go, and I'll just go live my life and pretend like that's not going to have an impact. And so I
mhm,
started to, I started being like, where do I need to face the music? Where do I need to
mm,
turn towards this thing I'm avoiding and say the thing that I'm withholding, or name
mhm,
the thing that I'm like, bring some clarity, and then watch the whole interconnected network get more vibrant. Not just the
mm,
one relationship, but
mhm,
every dimension of experience get
mm,
more radiant because of how that clarity impacts everything.
mhm. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful.
and so for anybody who has any kind of thought going on, like, well, how would porn help me with my financial situation? You can't even fathom, you can't change anything without changing everything.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know? And I'm sure you it's kind of like the how we do anything is how we do everything type of worldview. It's like the taking care of our home impacts the way we show up with our clients.
Mhm,
Saying that turning towards the is like for me, it's not typically people I'm avoiding; it's a conversation I'm avoiding.
mhm,
So
mhm.
turning towards the conversation and going, okay, let's have it.
Yeah,
Um, it changes everything.
yeah. Because it changes you. You're the center of that spoke of those spokes. And so I think it's less about the spoke. It's more about what happens to you. And I'm a big Carolyn Mace fan. I don't know if you've read her work. And she's a spiritual teacher who also from Chicago. So just like straight up, no bullshit. I think her dad was a Marine, older woman. And one of the images I think I got from a piece of work she did was this 1950s telephone operator. Remember those when we were kids? And you'd see they'd like unplug a plug and like, oh, you want to talk to Mr. Johnson? And they'd like plug that plug into a switchboard and then you'd be connected to Mr. Johnson. That we as beings have those plugs going out to people all over, people who are alive, people who are dead, people we know, people we don't know, situations that we've had in our past. And when we take that idea that you just spoke and say, oh, I'm going to clean up this conversation that's kind of lingering, I either take the plug out of that person and put it back into me, or I change the quality of the information that's going back and forth to and from that plug, which is there all fucking day long. And if people don't believe that, how many times have you woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning having the conversation you need to have with that person, only you're having it in your head, right? And you're not getting anywhere, but that plug is beautifully lit up in that moment. And so when we speak of an audit or something like you just talked about, it's, hey, I want as many of these plugs back into me as possible because I can then view them like now I have enough energy in my own body to do the thing that I want to do in the world. Or if I have a big project coming up, oh, I want to write another book. Well, shit, I need to unplug from a lot of different folks and ideas and things and plug those back into me. So I have the 150 units a day that writing the book will require. Right now, I have 110. And so I can't write a 150 unit book with 110 daily units. And that logic really helped me. The visual helped me and the logic helped me as someone who grew up in a logical world of not just like, oh, I don't have the motivation or, oh, I just need to wait for divine inspiration. No, I need to have 5 hard conversations so I get my plugs back. Then I can go do my thing, right? I need to clean my diet up so that like, the shit food plug comes back into me. Oh, and now I have enough juice to do the thing. I think that taking some of the esotericness out of it and going, man, this is logical. Your plugs are in the wrong places. And I've just like you do your concentric circles every couple months, I'll draw a really rudimentary stick figure. It's me. And like, where are all my plugs going? And go, oh shit,
Oh, I
I need
love
these.
that.
All right. And I look at it like I literally have a whiteboard in front of my office or in my office here. And I'll be like, bro, there's plugs going everywhere. Like, no wonder we're not sleeping, or no wonder we're exhausted, right? And the visual is really, really helpful.
Wow. Yeah, I gotta try that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, the whole time you're talking, I'm like, we got to talk about our collective dad wound and
Mm,
the lack of like, I use the term planetary patriarchs, right? Like we're
okay.
missing dads of humanity right now. I mean, I would judge you as one. I'd
Mm,
give you a judgment of the planetary patriarch, but it's like, we're missing at a global scale. We got Andrew Tate, we got
mm,
Donald Trump, we got
mhm,
Sam
mhm,
Altman, we've got
mhm,
Elon Musk,
mhm,
but we're missing this like, where the intersection of Jesus Christ, uh,
mm,
uh, you know, Elon Musk, Michael Jordan, right? We could kind of imagine this new man archetype that's coming online and more people.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me about our collective dad wound. Talk to me about the implications of that in our world right now.
I'll probably frame it for us as a deep lack of elderhood, that we have old men in society, but we don't have a lot of elders. And the elders that we do have, or many of the elders that we do have, haven't been given a formal position. So they're just out to pasture. We're not talking to them. We're not asking them for advice. We're not respecting them. So, do we have a collective dad wound? Of course, we have many, many individual father wounds, and the distorted masculine of older men is all over the newspaper every single day, right? Again, I don't care who you voted for. None of our last couple presidents have been good men, let's call them, and good examples of a grounded, mature, articulate elder. I would say maybe Obama, even though he had some shadow stuff that either way, if we go Biden and Trump, we had the toxic masculine and the collapsed masculine. Either way. And if we come to in my life, I have learned that I'm 50. I need guys in their 60s and 70s who have gone to therapy, who have been married and lost their marriages, who have raised kids and lost kids, who've made money and lost money, who've been hurt, who've gone through stuff, who've gone through initiations and gone through the passageways of transformation that happen as we age. And they need to tell me the advice that I would ask for my father if he were alive. Like, hey, I'm 50. What advice do you have? What were you going through at 50? What do you see from your vantage point that I can't see because I'm in it? Just like I can talk to a 30-year-old and say, brother, trust me. This is what happens. I've worked with enough men between 30 and 38 to know this is a very common thing that happens. Then you hit around 40 and this happens. Now, think of what would change, Forrest, if most men, let's just say most, had a mature, sober, healthy elder that they were in relationship with. Not just a business mentor, right? And not just a father who's perhaps, familial. So there could be some things in there that make him not want to be listened to that man or whatever. Just like a neighbor that you could walk across to and go, hey, I'm in this kind of pickle right now. Or like, hey, this really cool thing happened. Can I share it with you? I don't have anybody to share it with. And they can bless you like, give you an elder blessing. This is the stuff that, like, the real material that I think we're missing, right? I can give you an example of a potent thing. A couple weeks ago, my friend had his first son. He's in my men's group. So, guy's in his mid 40s. He's about to have his first child. We went to his house, our group, and went out in his backyard and for about 2 hours did a father blessing. Now, this was a bunch of dudes from Denver getting together and kind of making this shit up as we went. Yes, we have some experience leading ceremony, but we're not priests, we're not shamans, we're not enlightened. But we could stand in a circle and put our hands on him and say one by one, I think you're going to be a great father because, and I give you that blessing. And by the way, I'm going to be here in these capacities. I give you that blessing. Your wife can count on me if something happens to you, or even if not, here's my blessing. When your son comes of age, I will be an uncle. Here's your blessing. And did we ceremonialize it by pouring some honey and some whiskey and some fruit onto the ground and lighting a pipe? Definitely. But that was more of the pomp and circumstance. What the man walked away with was knowing I will not go through this process alone. My son will not go through this process alone. If something happens to me, my wife will not go through this process alone. I am not alone. Now, I think that sentence is what you were kind of asking. I have mentors. I'm not going through this thing alone, right? I am the mentor to a lot of younger men who now know they're not going through this thing alone. My uncivilized nation, the membership group exists so that men have men at every stage. We've got guys who are 25, we've got guys who are in their 70s. If you got a question about fatherhood, you got five dudes who you like. I was on a call. This is a beautiful thing. Like 2 months ago, I just do an open office hours call. Like, hey, I'm here. You're here. What do you want to talk about? And the guy was like, man, my daughter is 7 and my other daughter's 5, and I don't know what to do about this situation. Now, Forrest, I don't have kids, but I was like, hey, I know he's raised 2 kids, her 2 daughters. That guy's raised 3 daughters. That guy's raised 3 daughters. You 3 men, unmute yourself and give this guy some real no bullshit, like street level advice here. And they beautifully shared. Hey, this is what was happening when my daughter was that age. This is what worked. This is what didn't. This is the mistakes I made. These are the things I would do different. And I remember leaving that call going, that was profound. That is like $1 million worth of consulting, just man to man, good man to good man. Here's how you do it. So, my second uncivilized ethos tenet is be your brother's keeper. And some of that is brother to brother, you to I. And some of that is me to the 25-year-old guys who are like, man, this is confusing. Getting a job is confusing. Dating is confusing. And saying, yep, and here's what it was when I was that age, and here's some advice for you if you want it. And by the way, that's my phone number. You got it anytime you need it. That would, in my utopian mindset, that would make a big change in the world if guys actually had that kind of guidance. And the last piece I'll add is if I fuck up, I know there are older guys who are going to go, please have a seat.
Mm,
We're going
mm,
to talk to you right now.
mm.
We've watched you kind of falling apart here, and this is what we see. By the way, we were both 50, or the three of us. We know exactly where you are. We've been through this. We've built companies, we've built movements. We know you're going through a unique thing that's never happened to anybody in the history of the world and will never happen, but it's just you. But we may have some, we've each done this 9 times, so have a seat and calm down. And it's really helpful for me to be checked by those men and know that they're also I'm beholden to them. I'm responsible to them. If I go blow things up out in society, they're going to be the ones who are like, "Hey man, that wasn't cool." So, I feel like I've rambled for a bit, but that's my view on like it's super needed. This whole line is needed. We need elder men, and the last piece I'll say, I remember when men in my organization were told we now look to you as an elder
Mm,
and how that changed them.
mm,
We're
mm.
not just putting you out to pasture. You're not just like an old guy. Hey, you don't get it. We're literally saying your decades of accumulated wisdom are super valuable to us. Thank you. We honor you. Those guys need it too, man.
Absolutely. A few years ago, I seem to really, on this conversation with you, I seem to really be interested in generating practical things that people can do. So I just want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago that I reached out to 8 different men in my life, a couple of my age and a couple 20 or 30 years older than me, and a couple more. And I said, hey, um, I want to enroll you in being part of my support system. I'm getting ready to lead at a larger level than I ever have.
Mm,
It's possible people are going to project on me or I'm going to get feedback and no, 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 no. But I'm asking you if you can be someone who's keeping an eye on what I'm up to. And if you specifically see something that I'm doing
mm,
you don't like, I want
mm,
you to tell me that. Like I trust you
mm,
and I appreciate your perspective.
mm,
Of course, I'm listening to everybody, but it was like something in me needed to feel safe in like there's 8 guys who are keeping an eye out. And if I start doing something stupid, they're gonna be like, hey, Forrest, I'm noticing something here.
mm,
I want to talk to you.
mm. Such a power move, man. It's such an honesty move too. Of like hold me to the to the level that I say I want to live at. Like hold me to that bar. Don't let me drop underneath it. That's a fucking power move, man. Good on you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I am curious, you mentioned 30 to 38-year-old men, and this is just my selfishness, but I'm 34 years old, so I would love to get your advice, wisdom. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever nourishment you want to share, I'm here.
Yeah, that age group is a lot of building. It's a lot of building. It's a lot of like you've been through your 20s, which are just, in my opinion, like go adventure. Go fail, go volunteer, go be an intern, go sleep on the jujitsu mat so you can train for free, go live in your car so you can do the thing. Like literally go if you have the ability to drink from life. And then in your 30s, it starts to mature. You start to consolidate. Of like, hey, I have this wealth of experience. I've gotten through some of my just rebellious angst and whatnot. I'm starting to refine. I'm starting to get serious about the question, what am I building? I have still the exuberance and energy of youth, and I'm maturing more into it. This is also when men start thinking about family, start thinking like, what do I want that to look like? My relationships need to be more serious and more aligned. I'm showing up in ways, probably with an age group of women who need to make decisions about, am I going to have children? Am I not going to have children? Like these are real issues around that age group. Um, it's when guys, I will also say, and I don't want this to sound foreboding, 38 to early 40s, a lot of guys hit the wall. They have that the inciting incident, the divorce, the health issue, the financial issue, the addiction hits. Like the thing that kind of interrupts a lot of men's lives happens in late 30s, early 40s, if it hasn't happened before. Right? This is the guy that's just kind of cruising and I got my second job, I'm getting married, the kids are 8, and it's like boom, my wife had an affair. I had an affair. I found out I'm getting divorced. Our company went bankrupt. Like something that actually initiates the coming to real consciousness. Like, oh shit, I never realized that I've just been following the standard track up to now. But in your age group, man, it's a beautiful time because you really do have the energy and the excitement and the juice and a dash of the maturity that's going to go, cool. I don't want to live out of a suitcase 300 days a year. I actually do want to put some roots down and start to build something that's a little more solid.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking about me in that example. I've global nomaded for many years, and that ended I don't know, a year ago. I mean, I am still doing some traveling and I haven't fully planted roots, but I'm
Sure.
not like itching to get on the next flight to the next place. It's like, okay, let's,
Yeah.
slow this train down to a stop, basically. And I feel like if you coached me through an audit of my life, or if you did an audit of my life, I think the romantic relationships part is the place that I'm probably the youngest. Like I just
Mm,
have not. Yeah, I know I want to have kids and have a family at some point, and I've really prioritized a lot of self-exploration and globetrotting and figuring out what I really care about. I feel extremely clear on what I'm building. I feel deeply
mm,
connected with God. I have all kinds of amazing relationships and community. Like those, I feel
beautiful.
very fleshed out in.
Mm,
And sometimes I wonder, like, is this my own lack of maturity? Is it timing? Is it another variable? I can't see what I can't see. But yeah, you mentioned a lot of guys start thinking more about settling down and having a family at this age, and that's definitely happening for me, for sure.
beautiful. Let it unfold at the pace that it does, right? There's your Dharma. It sounds like there was a lot of movement in it. Where how many guys, get the job out of college and they're in that job for the next 15 years and then they meet the girl at the party and boom, they're off to the races. Um, And some people just have more global, I say, especially for people who are global, you're not in the same place for very long. And if you were still in the town that you grew up in, you'd probably be marrying the girl that stayed in the town that she grew up in. And that's sort of what you do. But for people who do hop around, it's a little bit harder. I'll say too, one of really impactful sentences a guy told me years ago. He was very similar, very successful businessman, traveled all the time. And I remember I met up with him in San Diego. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to live here for 3 years because I need to relearn the responsibility of consistent community. Where in the past, if I had a relationship and it didn't work or I didn't want to fully commit, I was out in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like whatever. I'm bounced. But now I need to know there's a thing about community, a responsibility that comes with it that I think is good for men too at around your age. Like, hey, I care. I know my neighbor now. I've known him for a couple of years. I care about him as opposed to just chasing the next peak experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm becoming aware. I hadn't connected this before, but just opening this up with you, I'm becoming aware. Just kind of a new moment here. You know, when I was 19, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he died a few years later.
Hmm. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it was incredibly disruptive for me. My dad was a college football player. He wasn't an alcoholic. He never smoked
Hmm.
cigarettes in his life, and now I can look back and make some sense out of it. I'm like, okay, he and my mom were separated. They were getting ready to get divorced. He and
Hmm.
I had a very rough time for years and basically weren't speaking to each other when he got sick. So I can see things he had going on at that time, even though conventional Western medicine would have said, he's perfectly healthy.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the things I noticed just being here with you, I'm going, oh, interesting. I did this thing in my mind without even realizing it, where I was like, my dad got sick, and then it was like the chemotherapy and the radiation and the way that Western culture relates with cancer and um, the FDA keeping drugs off the market that could have healed my
Hmm.
dad. I did this thing, which is like, oh, I have to fucking fix the world that I'm going to bring kids into first. And so as I'm here
Hmm.
with you right now, I'm noticing that I'm going, oh, I've put the weight of fixing the world on my shoulders as something that needs to get fixed before I can have a
Yeah.
family. So I'm
Yeah.
just seeing that in real time.
That's a lot of weight,
Yeah, it's too much for
right?
me.
It's too much. It's too much.
Way too much.
Yeah. I had a buddy who was very much in the same alignment. And I remember watching him over the course of about 2 years really come to terms with I want to raise a child in a very functional, emotionally intelligent house so that if he chooses to or she chooses to, they can go and actually be the ones to lead the new world. And we're not going to change the world. But we need, if you want to have children, right? There's always going to be challenges. Like I was born in the 70s. It was where like the nuclear scare. And there's always something, right? There's always going to be something. Um, yeah, I would imagine Forrest losing a father at that age had a deep effect on you. Yeah. And here you are. I'll give you some deep credit, man, of, you know, you're living a life of integrity and consciousness and intentionality, where a lot of men or young men who have that same wound go the other way. So I hope you often stop and give yourself grace and credit for that.
I'm going to take a second and really receive that. I feel you giving me a blessing right now. So I'm just going to really
Yeah, man, take it.
take it in. There was a quote that I was introduced to right around the time my dad got sick from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he writes, "Who you are speaks so loud, I can't hear a word you say."
Beautiful.
I didn't like myself very much at that time. It was a tough quote to read.
Yeah.
But 15 years later, it's different. So
Yeah, I believe you.
got a couple of tears going over here. There's definitely something getting contacted. So I appreciate you being with me right now.
Brother, let him come.
Is your father still alive?
He died my 47th day in the dark was his 1 year and the 1 year anniversary of his death. So he was in that room with me profoundly. I had his ashes in there with me. I grieved his loss immensely in there. I did not think I would need to, or that there was more. I was like, oh, I did the grieving, and there was a lot more.
You just came out of this 47 days within the last couple of months, yeah?
I came out in last July.
Okay.
So this is May, so about 10 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your dad, about 2 years ago, passed away.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I eulogized my father at his funeral. This was
Hmm.
almost 11 years ago, I guess. Um, there's a certain thing that happens for me when I'm with other guys who've lost their fathers. Like there's a kind of reverence and preciousness that seems to come online in men whose fathers have died and actually dealt with the grief of it.
Hmm.
Um, I feel that being here with you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's an initiation. It truly, truly is an initiation. Like the realization of that archetype, not just that man, but the archetype is no longer available to me in earthly form. That's a big deal.
Yeah, will you say more about the initiation and your experience? I mean, yeah, curious.
About 3 or 4 days after my father passed, I what began was my, how do I say this? I felt an actual initiation begin, Forrest, where I knew I was going in the dark, you know, uh, within the year. And I remember sitting down at my desk. I was living somewhere else at the time and thinking or feeling like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. And I can already feel something else coming in now that wasn't here 5 days ago. And pieces of my business where I was like, I'm not interested in that anymore. Things I wanted to write about. I was like, I don't want to write about that anymore. And it wasn't just like a petulance or a depression. It was truly as if part of me had been reorganized. And that process just slowly over time started to unfold of a deep maturing. Even at, I was 49 years old. I was a grown up. I've been married. I've all kinds of things have happened that have initiated. I've been divorced. I've built businesses. I've written books. But there was something not cognitive and not even heart level, but like guttural and soul level that started to awaken after my father passed. And he and I weren't that close humanly, as in we didn't speak but more than once or twice a year. But I was deeply connected to him. He was the male in my family. He was the one who I resonated with most in my family. And so to feel that cord no longer have a earthly person, and the same thing, like unplugged from him and plugged back into me, truly started a process that I carried with me into the dark. Right? I had his ashes in an urn with me. And I'll share another story with you that I grieved a ton for him in there. And I also grieved, I imagine something that you'll resonate with, that although he was alive in my 20s and in my 30s, I didn't have access to him in a way that I would have liked to get advice, to get counsel, to get input. Our relationship didn't allow that. So I had to grieve what it was like to make decisions as a 25-year-old, a 28-year-old, a 32-year-old, a 38-year-old without dad, without someone wiser who also had known me for my whole life, which is an experience some men have. And I was lying in the bed in the dark room, just like sobbing and sobbing and sobbing this one morning early, and recognized that this is give you a little insight into my family. We didn't have any services for my father when he died. He and my mom have both said like no funeral, no wake, no lunch, no nothing. Like we're dead, go about your day. And grieving the fact that I actually didn't get to eulogize him. I didn't get to speak. I didn't get to share things. I didn't get to say anything. And realizing that the 1 year anniversary was coming up in maybe 2 weeks and I was going to be in the room for it. And so God bless her. The woman who, same woman in Guatemala, who now runs the facility where I did the 49-day in Italy, would come in every Friday to clean the room and check on me and see if I'd lost anything and, just also do a quick like mental health checks because 7 weeks is a long time. And I remember the next Friday when she came in saying, I would love the possibility of breaking protocol here. The day, 2 days before I get out, it's the 1 year anniversary of my father's death. And we had no ceremony for him. Would you mind coming in that night? I'll blindfold myself, but can we light a candle, play his favorite song on your phone, and can I say the things that I would have said at his funeral as you as my witness? And I said, God bless her. She was like, of course we can. And I sat on the floor in a tiny little room in Italy she brought some flowers. She lit a candle. I couldn't see, obviously. She held my hand and I just sobbed and spoke the words that I told her all about my father. And that too was so healing for me. And it like ceremonially closed the loop on some part of the initiation. It's a lifelong process of navigating not having a parent, but that was a big piece of it. That when I left the room, 2 days later, there was a completeness in me that there wasn't 3 days prior before I got to do that ceremony and just speak to another human in a ceremonial aspect with a candle, with the flowers. This is who my father was. This is what my relationship with him was. And then just cry as we played, a 1950s song that I knew he loved. And I think without that, Forrest, there would still be a piece of me longing and needing and grasping, and who knows how it would be affecting me, but it would be affecting me. And so I'm not sure how to speak to the complexity or the fullness of the initiation because I'm probably still in it a bit. Um, I still talk to him when I meditate sometimes in the morning. I still hold his ashes when I meditate. So, but the initiation was truly for me maturing, realizing he's not here, even if I do pick up the phone, there's some things I have to now grow into. Like I am the man of the family. And wow, clearing the things that I got to clear with him in that ceremony and even beforehand when he was on his deathbed allowed me access to a level of depth that I think my anger or resentment or disappointment or grief would have prevented me from accessing, if that makes sense.
And I got chills all over. Wow.
Yeah, it was a life-changing experience for me.
Really appreciate that you gave yourself the gift of asking for the ceremony in the way that you did.
Me too. Thank you. Yeah, it was a big moment.
You know, we one thing that I'd love to do is just for all the for all the guys who are listening that have made it this far, or ladies, for whoever you are listening, if you want to share this podcast or this particular section with a man or some men in your life who you love and who you care about, maybe we can just open up this space here, Traver, to talk directly to men
Hmm.
and just see what comes through.
Mm. I'll share something with you, Forrest, and with the guys listening that's very antithetical, perhaps, to my branding and what I often get viewed as, which is the primal. And I get it. I love the primal. I'm connected to the primal. And yet I remember interviewing Michaela Boehm, if you know her, same last name as me, but we're not related. A very, very profound teacher. And asking her, she's worked with men for decades. She was one of David Data's teaching assistants for like 15 years. And saying, what do you wish men knew about themselves that we don't know? And I remember her thinking and sitting quietly and then saying, just how profoundly sensitive you are. I was like, oh man, that is not the cultural answer that we get, right? David Goggins and Jocko aren't up there being like, bros, you're sensitive. Like, it's okay. Right? We have entire like industries built around reminding us that we're not supposed to be sensitive. So I always love the duality, Forrest. I love I have the Buddha and the gorilla behind me. And it's, gentlemen, recognize how profoundly powerful you are. Profoundly powerful you are. Recognize the incredible responsibility that you carry as a man. I don't know if you've seen my symbol, Forrest. If it's kind of hiding in the N. It's the arrow symbol. Then it's half the symbol for poison and half the symbol for the antidote to poison. When I was constructing Uncivilized a decade ago and needed a symbol, I felt like that is what I want to put out into the world. That men, we have the ability to be the cure. And we also have the potential to be the damage. And I'm not shaming anybody or guilting anyone for how they've lived or how they do live, but I want to say, brothers, like, one, you have the incredible power to change your life. And simply by doing that, like the quote that you gave, you will change numerous lives around you. And two, be more than okay with how sensitive you are. What a beautiful thing about a man is that how sensitive he is.
Yeah, I hear the it's like the tender aggression polarity. I
Mhm.
really appreciate it. Yeah, what's coming through for me, guys, first of all, I just want to tell you I love you. And I'm just going with what's coming to me, guys. I don't know where it's coming from, and I'm just going with me, which is like, I don't want to make drinking beer and watching football and betting on FanDuel and watching porn and using a bunch of stimulants, combination of stimulants and depressants. Like, I don't want to make this wrong. I really don't want to judge you. And um, I'm gonna see if I can speak to you from this. There's somewhere that we can access in our being that's deeper than all that stuff, and we can say enough. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to have a different life. And you can find so much fucking joy and fulfillment in a fresh squeezed glass of orange juice and in a really good glass of water and in being able to actually be fucking present in life and
Mhm.
actually being able to just show up and meet life with open eyes and an open heart and to be able to breathe. And it's just better. Like, that is my judgment. It's a better life in my experience. Um, in my opinion, we live in a world where we've given all of our power away to politicians and the government and banks and industry, and we've said it's everybody else's job out there to change things, but we all need to um, change things ourselves. We need to be leaders in our own household. We need to be leaders in our relationship. We need to be leaders in our community. Um, it's time to go all in on being who we really are. Like, stop trying to be the person the world told you to be and be the person that you are truly underneath all of that. It's always been enough. There's this pervasive fucking lie in our culture that we're not enough, and it's not true. It's the easiest thing in the it's the simplest thing in the world. It doesn't mean it's the easiest thing in the world to let go of all this crap we've been given about who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be and just walk through the world as the beauty of who we are. Um, but it's the moment for this. It's the moment for like the great unburdening and
Mhm.
the big release, and for all of us to really step up and step in and engage and participate. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to get a messiah anytime soon. We just need good people. We just need principled, big-hearted people who want to do the right thing, and we need to support each other and encourage each other and call each other out. Um, so please, please take this invitation and step up and step in. It's time.
Amen.
This has been fucking awesome. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. I want to give you a chance to share, I'm going to link everything that you want me to link in the show notes. Where do
Sure.
you want people to go to get in touch with you?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You can finally find me most on Instagram at Traver Boehm, TraverBoehm. Go to manuncivilized.com for any of my men's offerings. I have 3 books out there. Today I Rise. If you're going through a breakup, read that. Man Uncivilized, if you're a man. And then 28 Days in Darkness describes my very first dark retreat and all of the insights that came from it. I'd love for everybody to grab a hold of a book.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you as well.
Cheers.